afternoon, adventurers. It's Friday, that's right. And here we are live at the Collective in Altamont Springs, Florida, where we're coming to you with an interesting topic. But first, we're going to get to the topic in just a minute. First, I want to talk to you about this cool role-playing game that's come out. So there was once a trade paper, a comic book called Die. Volume 1 was Fantasy Heartbreaker. Basically, the gist of it is there's a group of kids that are playing Dungeons and Dragons, and the Dungeon Master creates it, and they go into the game. Hey, Antonio, welcome to the show. And anyway, here. So I'll kind of read you the little thing. In the 90s, 16 years disappeared into a fantasy role-playing game. Only 5 returned. Nearly 30 years later, those broken adults are dragged back to discover the game isn't finished with them yet. So Kieran Gillen, The Wicked, The Divine, Young Avengers, Star Wars, and Stephanie Hans team up in comic where fantasy gets real. So they go in, they get lost. Hello. Welcome to the show, Sarah. Hello, my love. Happy Friday, everybody. So this was a comic book where they went into the game, and 5 of them came back, and like, I guess 30 years later, they revisit the game, and the Dungeon Master is one that stays behind. So it caught on pretty well, and then they came out with the role-playing game Die RPG. So basically, you're dragged into the game, and it's basically a game within the game, right? So you're in the game, and you get dropped into the game, the actual game itself. It's almost like you got sucked into the game. So the role-playing game came out. I'm not going to tell you that I know a lot about it. I don't. I know that I read the first couple of comic books, and it was really cool. But I'm not a big comic book person, so I can't tell you a lot more of it. But the trade paperback is here, in case you want to look it over and read it. And then the game came out today. It's out. It's very cool looking, and really neat. So it seems from what little I read about it, okay? So I'm telling you, I have not played it, but it seems pretty cool. I mean, it just came out. By the way, there's been an amazing restock. Remember we talked about the restock? Oh, look, let me get rid of this because nothing's reserved back here. I told you guys that there was going to be a restock of all the miniatures. Well, it definitely came in. There are a bunch of miniatures going up on the wall. All those blank. Not all the blank spaces, okay? Not all the blank spaces, but a lot of the blank spaces are going to be filled up because, I mean, this big. I brought some of the big miniatures out. So here's a young blue dragon, which it was gone. And here is a young bronze dragon. And as you can see, the miniatures are a little different, you know? Wings are in different angles. The monsters, the dragons themselves are posed differently, and they have the unique. A lot of them have unique horn configurations that they have in a lot of the Monster Manual pictures. So they kind of patterned it after that, okay? Which I think is really neat. And there's a lot more in this. I just didn't want to clutter this up because I want you to be able to see me. So today we have an interesting topic. We're going to talk about the difference of role-playing and narrative. Now, it sounds, well, that's easy. But sometimes it's not so easy because there is a distinction, it's like a fine line distinction between the two. So a narrative, okay, so let's talk about narrative. Hey. So let's talk about narrative. So if I am using a narrative, it's all right. So your group walks into the tavern and you see a lot of people. There's a bard playing in the corner. There's a barkeep behind the bar. And you see several adventurers sitting at a table. That's a narrative, okay? That's a narrative. What do you do? Now, here it comes. This is where it gets crazy. Just get a stool. All right. So that's the narrative part of it. But now we get to the RPG part. What do you do? What does your character do? We can't see the stuff on it. Oh, you can't see. The camera's a little. It is. My bad. Look at that. It is way up there, isn't it? Let's go down. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. Oh, still no. Oh, hold on. I'm glad you said something so we can fix that. There we go. Now you can see the stuff on the table. Not a lot. Like I said, not a lot. I didn't want to because they're putting all the miniatures up. But here's the dragon, the blue dragon. I like these these are so cool because, sometimes I'll tell you what I like about this. Let me show it to you like this, actually. So the thing is, when you get these miniatures, all right. So these all come painted. There are versions of them that come painted, but the thing is, what if you want your blue dragon to be a little bit more blue, or maybe he's like a purplish blue, or has a little bit of I can see now. I'm glad you can. Now, and I'll tell you why I like these too. I was watching an animation, and so this character, the protagonist of the animation, goes and fights a red dragon. So this red dragon, I mean, most of the dragons that we have. Oh, and here's my co-host finally.
I made it.
She made it. Everyone's saying, "Hi, Donna."
I just came to show off my new haircut.
Oh, you did? Is that what you did? Okay.
Is that why I look different?
Okay, now that you showed it off, I'll see you later.
Okay,
No.
bye.
All right. So, all right. So we're gonna get to our topic, but I gotta tell them about this.
Mhm.
It's a Donna. Oh my gosh. So the protagonist goes and kills a red dragon, right? And of course, in the animation, it can look really cool. But the coolest thing was this red dragon was, red dragon scales was really cool. But the wings and the fibrous parts of the wings, instead of being like a different color shade of red or maybe like an orangey yellow, like a lot of red dragons are portrayed, it was this beautiful blue. And the contrast between the two, the colors were amazing. I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't it be cool to paint a red dragon like that? And I am. But here it is. This is something I am. Yes, I am. I'm going to get myself a nice dragon. Probably, this is a young blue dragon. I'll probably get an adult red dragon. And pre-primered, because that's the wonderful thing about these. They're pre-primered. You don't have to sit there and mess around primering. And I'm going to paint them red, a brilliant red, with highlights in that. And then I'm going to do the fibrous parts of the wings, just like in the animation. This like electric, I guess it's more like an electric neon blue.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And hopefully I can make it as cool looking as the one on there, right? So, all right. So today's topic, I was telling them, I was asked that what is the difference? And can I talk about, or we're going to talk about, which I'm glad you're here because it's so much easier to do with a person than me sitting here pretending to be two people. Although people say I got split personalities. So you never really know what's going on. Anyway.
Talking to yourself.
Yeah. But, role playing and narrative when it comes to the characters, especially the characters. So the characters are really what I want to focus on because the DM's always switching back and forth between the two, and most of the time you don't even know what's happening. And I think that's where that confusion comes in. Is that as a DM you're doing so many people, so many. I'm telling you what's going on, how it's going on, what you're seeing, what the characters are saying, what the monsters are doing. That it all kind of becomes this big old jumble.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the characters, I think it's a little easier because you've got the character. You're running one character. Mm-hmm. So, all right. So I was telling them. So a narrative is we walk into the tavern. You heard me kind of when you first walked in.
Yeah.
And
my
you see
does
right.
What?
So when I ask, what does your character do? So now as the player, let's go with the narrative. So I want you to narrate to me what your character does.
Okay. My character walks in, they look around, they go up to the bar, they want to talk to the bartender.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to continue with the narrative because that's where we're at right now, right? The narrative. So I say, all right, so the bartender comes up to you and says, now here it goes. Now I'm going to switch into the role playing at this point, although it's still part of the narrative.
I'll stay narrative.
But she's going to stay in the narrative. And this is why, and this is where the confusion comes in, okay? Yeah. So the barkeep comes up to you, looks at you. He's an older gentleman, grayish hair. He's cleaning a mug. So what do you have? That's the role-playing part of it. Because now I'm talking not to Donna. I was describing to Donna what he looked like and what he was doing. But now the barkeep, the NPC himself, is now addressing Donna's character. And there's no break. It just kind of slides into it. Kind of like, okay, here we go. When you're reading a story, a fantasy, any novel, and it says, okay, it would be written like this. You see an elderly man with gray hair, an apron, a white apron, cleaning a mug, a crystal mug, approach you from behind the bar. He sets the mug down, looks at you, and then in parentheses you would see the quotation, or you see the quotation marks that say, "What can I get you?" Well, when you're reading it, now you know this was the action, and this is what their action is going on, right? So there it is. Maybe that helps a little bit. Maybe not. Okay, so now there it is. That's what I said. What can I get you?
And I'll say my character wants to say hello to the bartender.
Okay, see, that's in the narrative. Now we're gonna break out of the narrative, okay, and we're gonna go into the RPG. Now we're gonna role play that same exact thing she just said, okay? Because basically, Donna described to me what her character's gonna do, and then does it but it's still in the narrative, right? Okay, now let's put it in the RPG. Okay, so the bartender comes up and says, "What do you have?"
What do you offer here? I was thinking of an ale and maybe some food. Do you have anything good?
See, now we switched into now my character, the bartender is talking to her character, and she's talking back to the character, to the NPC. So now we're in a role-playing session. Okay, this is the role-playing part of it. Okay, now watch. Once again, as a DM, there's this break-off. All right, he looks at you and turns around and looks at his shelves and says, "I have a very nice bottle of Glacier Red from the northern mountain range." See, now I described to her what he was doing, and then I go right into the role play because he says, I have a bottle of Glacier Red from the northern mountains. Now I'm talking to her character. Now let's narrate. Narrate your part. What you say next.
I am suspicious about this bottle, and I don't know if I want to take it from him or not. And I guess I'll, ask him if he wants anything, if he offers anything else.
Okay. See, so that's what.
Really clumsy to do it.
Yeah,
this way.
it's kind of hard. Yeah,
it doesn't sound.
No, it doesn't. But she's describing. Once again, we're back to describing what her character's doing. Okay, so we're back in the narrative. Now let's do it with the role play. Okay, so he turns around, he looks at you, kind of smiles and reaches up, looks at grabs a bottle, brings it down and says, "I have a bottle of Glacial Red from the northern mountains that's very good."
Okay, I'm a little suspicious of this, so I'll say, "That sounds really good. How about you and I do a shot together and I'll pay for it?"
See? So that now, what does that really mean? It's the same thing. She's a little suspicious, but instead of saying I'm suspicious, she basically says, "Let's both do a shot," right? That way she knows it's not dried, poison, whatever, and she's going to pay for it. So that's the role-playing aspect of it. So hopefully that's like a small little niche of what the difference between role-playing and narrative is. But you have to be careful because they're interchangeable. And I think that's where that question came from, really, is that as a new player, they're trying to distinguish when the DM is role-playing and when the DM is being narrative.
Yeah.
And then here's the third part of it. And now we're going to get to that third part. So now Donna and I are players, all right? We've walked into this bar. She was up there. And so now comes my character. And I'm going to leave the whole bartender part alone because we know there's a bartender there. And he approaches. All right. So character, I don't want to do a hoodie figure. I'll just do somebody simpler. And I'm not going to do the bard. A human male walks in, clad in armor, holding his helmet under one hand, shield and two-ended sword strung across his back. Looks around confidently, strides up to the bar and says, "I'll have a glass of your best and one for her." Now, and says, there's that whole whoop.
Yeah.
Where did it stop and where did it end, right? So
Yeah.
Let's stick to the narrative, though. Let's go back to the narrative because that's actually what he would do.
Yeah.
And it's just an automatic switch, okay? But let's go back. Okay, so we go back, blah, blah, blah. You see that the character strides purposely towards the bar, slams his hand down on the bar itself, and says to the barkeep that he would like to order a glass of his best, and he would also like to buy the lady to his right a glass also. That's the narrative of what just happened earlier. That was a combination of the narrative and the role play. Okay? Didn't introduce himself, just bought her a drink. There it is. Boom. That's the way it is. So there's that whole intermingling. Now we're going to go in role play, and we're going to leave the bartender out of it at this point. Okay? So my character, now we're going with the narrative. This is purely narrative, okay? So my character turns to you. You see that he's clad in full armor. His helmet is off. He puts his helmet down on the bar, right? He has long black hair, greenish blue eyes. He has a couple scars on his face, so you can tell this guy's really been in battles before. He has a big two-handed sword pommel sticking out. His shield strapped across his back. Yeah. And after buying a drink, he kind of turns over to you and smiles and says, "Hey, how are you?" So see, that's the narrative of this whole thing now. Now we got a whole narrative going on. Okay, so that's what he says. He says to you, "Hey, how are you?" How do you respond? What do you do?
In narrative?
Yeah, we're going to stay in narrative because I asked you, what do you do? Okay, because now I'm letting her know that I'm done and it's her turn.
So I lean back a little. I'm a little standoffish with this guy because he came charging in, so it made it, made me a little wary of him. I don't know this stranger, and I don't know why he's trying to buy me drinks or anything like that. So I ask him, do I know you, or have we met? Like, what's your name? And see how he reacts.
Okay. So there, now that lets me know now it's my turn. So this is what's going on, okay? So now, that was the narrative. Now I'm going to switch this over to, and once again, you got to look for that break because there's no like, okay, I'm going to describe this, and then I don't go, okay, now in the role playing, although people do, and DMs, this is more for you. If in case, let's say I was the bartender, you may sit there and go to a player who really is having a problem with that break part of the narrative and the role playing, right? You could go and say, okay, well, I'm describe. This is what's happening around you, and you describe everything. And you say, now, the bartender is going to approach you and talk to you in character.
Yeah.
Okay, because I haven't talked to her yet.
Yeah. Or
I could even go, okay, Donna, so this is my character, what he looks like. This is what he's doing. Okay, now he's going to turn around and talk to your character. Okay, so everything I described to her up to the point where I started talking, that's what I would have done. I put my helmet on there. This is what he looked like. He's got a sword. He's got a shield. He's in armor, blah, blah, blah. Green, bluish eyes, black hair. Okay, so you can see what I'm getting at. That's all the descriptive. That's all the narrative. Then I go, okay, so Donna, now my character is going to talk to your character.
Okay.
So that's an actual, okay, hey, pay attention. Now we're role playing. You can do that. And veteran players, to help those new players along, this is something you may have to do until they get that part that goes click. I call it that click because it's kind of like when things are like weaved together, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up a little. Do you have that problem in your game? Have you run into that?
Not anymore, really. My players and I are really, I don't know, we've melded now. We've kind of
okay, so let's back up. What about at the beginning?
At the beginning, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And even I had trouble being like, are you in character right now? Or are you just telling me this? Or are you just asking me questions? Because it's hard for me to know, unless they're doing clear character voices, it's hard for me to know if they're asking or not. So there was some clarification needed at first. But at this point, we're I don't know, 6-7 months into this game, so we're pretty fluid at this point.
Okay, so that's good. So see, it does take a little bit of time, and it actually depends on the level your players do it, how much they're into it, and how often they show up. So there's a lot of things in it, but these games are a little different than a home game because in a home game or something that you've been doing for a while, like you have, eventually you become accustomed to your different players because they show up. Okay. Now, let's take it one step further because you brought up a good point. All right. Narrative, RPG, role-playing.
Yeah.
I'm talking to the DM.
Right.
John is now talking to Donna.
Yes.
This is the other part that's kind of hard, too. Okay, so she says, I don't know what. Okay, my guy's a fighter. I've just ran into a group of orcs. You're going to be the DM. So you got a bunch of orcs, and you want to do the infamous. It's the infamous. What do you guys do now, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you?
What do you do? Yeah. All right. So my first one. Now this is out of character. Now this is that out of character. Now this has nothing to do with anything descriptive. This is now. I go. How many orcs are there?
So,
and she may have said that in the description, but let's say I missed it or whatever. I say, so how many orcs are there, and how are they armed? Because that's the other thing I want to know. How are they armed?
Yeah, so there's half a dozen orcs. They have
a half a dozen, really?
How
big of a party do I have? It's just me.
It's just you. Well, are you? I mean, if you're about to fight them,
that ain't right. Half a dozen orcs.
In my head canon, you stumbled upon an encampment of orcs, and you have
Okay.
Okay, it's 2 orcs.
Okay, that's better. That I can live with.
And they have simple bows and arrows that they're not proficient with, so they probably can't use them. How's that?
No, that's too easy. Oh, now she see this is being no. I like this. Okay, we can go with the 6. We can go with the 6. Wow. So I'm like now as the player, I'm like looking at this and going, So I observed this before I go running in there. I hope, right?
Right.
Okay. So now I have a decision to make. So now this is player to DM. See, now this is not character. This is not descriptive. I'm asking her. I'm like, well, I'm going to roll a stealth check.
Okay.
To see if I can quietly back away without them hearing me.
Okay. They are not super perceptive, so I give it DC 14.
All right. So I sit there and I roll my die. It comes up, let's say a 13, but I have a +1 in stealth because I have some dexterity. So I just got to 14. So I go, okay, well, all right. So now watch. Here comes that disconnect where now we're going back into the game. Mm-hmm. All right. So, all right. So, Alfred, we'll name him Alfred.
Cool.
Alfred was tramping through and noticed some noises. So I look, I'm like, whoa. Yeah. So I'm going to start backing out slowly and kind of take a moment to kind of get my wits together and decide if I want to go charging in there or not. So I'm going to back out and I'm going to go a few dozen feet away and kind of get my wits about me.
All right. You hear the orcs kind of mumble to each other. Did you hear something? And they're like, nah, just animals in the woods. You know, they
now, what would you ask at this point, though? What's the one thing you would ask at that point once they start talking?
Once the orcs start talking to each other.
What would you ask the character?
Do you hear them, I guess? I don't know. Do you?
More importantly, what think about it? So you haven't prepared this out, but here's a question that the DM would ask you that's out of character also. What would it be? Do you understand orc?
Oh, yeah.
See, because she said they started talking. So now my character, there's 1 or 2 ways of playing this. Mm-hmm. Now, she's caught up in the moment, so she's not really thinking. I go, well, I know orcish. What are they saying? Now that is done out of game.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's out of game. That's just my guy knows X amount of my character. Alfred knows Common, Elven, and Orcish.
Okay.
That's what he knows. Don't know why he knows Orcish, but he does. And he probably knows Goblin too, by the way, because Goblin is.
But so he goes, your characters always know Goblin.
They do, don't they? They really do. Anyway.
I got him.
All right, so I said, well, Donna, hey, my character knows Orcish. What are they saying? Well, I'll probably have to roll not a stuff. What would that be? A perception check, right?
Yeah.
So I roll a 15 plus 2. I got a 17.
So yeah.
So I can hear them.
Yeah.
What are they saying? What are they saying?
Oh, they're just asking each other simple questions. Did you hear anything? And somebody says, no, that was an animal. And another guy goes, I don't know. Should we check it out? And another one says, screw it. It's nothing.
So is it just the 2 talking, or is there a third person talking also?
There's 3 of them.
So see, there you go. So I saw 2. Now watch what just happened in that little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So I only saw 2 of them, right? That's what you described to me too.
Yeah. So, well, no, you saw 6.
There are half a dozen.
Yeah, that's what we're going with.
I thought
you decided we're going with that. So
I don't like this. All right, so let me tell you how this is going to end.
Yeah.
No. Alfred's a little smart. He's not a dumb warrior. He got a couple of scars, but that was in training.
Oh, in training.
When he
Right.
didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, when he was a kid. When he was a
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So I heard the third voice there, because they don't know I'm here. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue backing out. I'm going to take my action to just back out of here, because at this point, 6 orcs is a bit more than I can handle.
kid. Right.
So I'm going to head back to town and go get some help.
Okay.
All right. So all that, see, that's out of, so some of it was in game, right?
Yeah.
The stealth part, but heading back, that's all I'm just kind of being narrative, but I'm talking to Donna, the DM.
Awesome. So I'll ask at that point, are you taking the trail back, the road back, or are you gonna go through the woods?
No, I think I'm going to
stay.
stick. I'm going to stay at the edge of the trail, but in the woods in
Okay.
case they're watching the road.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
So would there be another check?
Yeah,
You
you would
think?
roll for stealth
Okay, so I'd have to roll for stealth.
to make sure you got all the way
All right,
back.
so I'll roll. I'll make it simple. I rolled a 14.
Okay. Yeah, I would say.
Could I have advantage since I already fooled them once?
Sure.
See, players. There's certain questions you want to know. Okay, advantage. So the reason I asked that question is because I already passed, but I barely passed, and my stealth is only 1 plus 1 for my dex, right? So I'm trying to find every little advantage that I can. So I asked her, since I already succeeded, since I fooled them once. Now listen to the way I phrased the question. I didn't say, "Hey Donna, can I have advantage on this roll?"
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I would say, tell me why you would have advantage.
There
on this
you
roll.
go. Why do I get advantage? Well, I fooled them once already. So I'm thinking they're not really looking for me.
Yeah.
So see, or I can already just kind of call out and say, since I've already fooled them and they don't really know I'm there, can I have advantage? And
Right.
she's going to say yes or no and live with it. So I get advantage. So now I roll 2 dice. I rolled a natural 20 because I do a lot of those.
Yeah. You're a shadow.
I'm a
Nobody sees you.
I glide
You
through the
glide.
forest. No, but anyway, so I get back. So there's a little encounter.
Mhm.
No combat took place because I don't really want to get into the combat.
Yeah.
Although we are going to talk about that in a second. So that's how that would go. So we were in character.
Yeah.
We discussed ability checks,
Right.
out of character.
Okay.
And then we went as far as talking about advantage, which is also out of character, but in character too, because it gives you the die, 2 dice. You roll 2d20 and you take the higher die roll, and then you add your modifier, which for me is only a +1. But hey, +1 is better than +9. Oh, you got more miniatures, don't you?
I do.
Huh?
I got in
And here's
so many
Brendan.
more miniatures.
I was
It so
telling them,
good.
look at this. What do we got there? What did you bring us?
Now the beholder is back.
Oh, the
These are
beholder, of which I have 3 at home.
the owl.
These
bear.
are awesome.
Yes,
We're looking for the
owl
owl
bear.
bear.
The owl bear, very
These are
nice.
some of the nice staples like blights and things like that.
Yes.
Came back.
Oh,
The
nice.
Timberwolves are back.
Oh yes.
Ooh.
So
Hey.
Timberwolves are the best.
Oh, these are nice. See, now these are the
These are
actual Timberwolves. Take a look at
Yes.
this.
So those
This
are
is
good.
nice, and
You
I'm
got
probably gonna
white
buy a set of
dragons,
these.
Black dragons, red dragons.
I got the
The
dragons
rest of the
out.
stuff is coming.
Okay, can I keep these here?
You can keep those.
Awesome.
You can.
So hey, we got there goes the big, and there went Brendan.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
there they are, and of course the owl bear, which has been made famous now with the movie, right? And Timberwolves. I mean, you know what? Timberwolves are probably one of the least. Oh, you can lean them against the other book. Yeah, just lean them like that. It's okay.
There we go.
There we go. You can see them.
Nice.
They're some of the most underestimated, but in campsites, you know what? When you're out in the forest, right? I mean,
Mhm.
what are the creatures that you think I'm camping along the trail? I mean, not on the trail, but offside, off the beaten path, in the woods,
Yeah.
kind of at the edge of the woods. What would you do? What would you throw at them?
So this is actually very rare in my campaigns. I usually have some way that they get places super quick. Airships, portals. A
Oh, that's
wizard,
right. You're playing.
something
That's
like
right.
that,
That's right.
Because I
yes.
just wanted to get there. But there was a point where they were camping, and they had that the tower, the thing that turns from like a chess piece into like a huge tower.
Oh yes. The magical item. Yeah.
And I was like, they're too comfortable with this. They think they've got it. They think they're good. But the tower even has little slits. So
Yes,
I brought
arrow
in-
slits and stuff.
I
Yeah,
brought
that you can
in-
look out of.
Right, but monsters can see in there. They can cast things into like sleep spells and mind control spells and charm spells and things like that. And if you're sleeping, you don't have a way to combat that. So you don't get to roll. You just, you're sleeping and somebody casts friendship on you. You're BFFs in your dreams, and they can just mind control you. And
Okay,
it's just
listen, if
wild.
you're playing Donna's campaign, you ain't never safe.
No.
Never.
No.
Isn't that Mordenkainen's something fortress, right?
Yeah,
Mordenkainen
something
or
Like, yeah.
someone like that. Yeah,
Ask
yeah.
Alex. It's his item that he got.
I love it.
Yeah.
So there you go. But see, and that's I know that's kind of getting off the, but let's go to that. Let's go to that scenario. In fact, okay. So, let's say I have that little chess piece, right?
Yeah.
And it's nighttime, and we're not gonna get that. I said, so can we find a place? Now, once again, this is all out of character. This isn't even part of the narrative. This is a question from John, the player of Alfred, to Donna, the DM.
Mhm.
Is there any place off the side of the road that we can kind of be out of the elements in case it rains or we pick up a wind or something, maybe near the forest or something?
I would say give me an investigation. And then,
Okay. So I go, well, how about if I let the barbarian and the ranger go look for a spot?
Yeah, investigation with advantage.
Okay.
You know,
So they
just
go and they do
along-
their thing and they come back and they say blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah, they found a spot. And
Okay.
then, depending on how well they rolled, it's going to either be like a decent clearing, where they can set up like bedrolls and be a little bit, off the beaten path, or it's going to be like amazing and it's going to be super lush grass, very soft, and there's super thick brush all the way around.
The elves will love that.
Right, yeah. So you can sleep comfortably.
There it is. Darn's Instant Fortress is the name. Thank you, Antonio.
Thanks, Antonio.
See, that's what's awesome about the interactive is that we can throw something out there and there's someone who will look it up for you. Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. So it's Darn's Instant Fortress. Awesome, awesome magical item.
Yes.
You want to camp safe, sort of? Because
Sort of,
DM,
a little
that's what you want.
fiendish.
Okay, so that's good. All right, so I'm gonna take my Darn's Instant Fortress and I'm gonna set it up right here.
Okay.
And then
Uh,
and now, so that's all out of game. So, all right,
Yeah.
in the narrative sense, all right, since I'm now with back to the party, I pick up I bring in my rook piece,
Yeah.
and I lay it down, and I say the command word. See, I'm not actually saying the command word. My character says the command words, and it is play. And instead of the rook piece, now there's a tower. It's got arrow slits. It's got a door.
Yeah.
Wow, it's our shelter for the night.
And if
And-
you did not ask me if there was enough space to open that up and enough clearing above it, I'm going to say it crashes through the trees loud enough to attract some wolves.
There you go. That's my fault for not checking to see if there was enough space. But see, so
Got
these
so
are the things.
excited
You
about
can
my
have fun.
piece.
So, okay, so that's what happened. I'm looking, okay. So now my character kind of looks around like, oh, doggone it. Yep. Have a worm eat it like I did. And now they are more cautious. Yeah.
Oh,
Have a
yeah.
worm eat it. What kind of worm ate it?
Big giant
A
purple.
purple worm? Okay, so see, all you players out there, don't think that just because you got this, that you're safe. I'd like to know, was it a purple worm, Antonio? Antonio has some giant worm eat theirs.
Yeah.
She has things being cast in, and oh my gosh. That is so all right, so let's go back. So,
Everything does something in
Yep.
my game. There's
So-
always a reaction. You have to be so careful.
so I guess we hear the baying of the wolves.
Yeah. So you
All
hear the wolves run and they surround you. You hear them coming around you. You hear their heavy breathing and they're growling. And suddenly it's coming from all sides. And you see just the light glinting off of their eyes a little bit in the moonlight. And all of a sudden there's a big old pack of wolves around you. There's a good 15 of them.
Look, you'd like that.
Fey
Yep,
realm.
in the Fey realm, a
Yeah,
purple
we're in
worm.
the Fey
Yeah.
realm too.
Oh boy. So as you can see, campaigns happen all over. Okay, so that is an awesome description which led to the wolves.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you have it. And that was all in the narrative, other than the part. No, actually it was all in the narrative.
All of it. Yeah.
Everything there was in the narrative.
There's no NPC for me to talk.
Right.
Other characters. to
Exactly.
talk
So a lot of that, even though it's happening, as far as role playing with the characters, I'm not going to do that because there's no one here. That's something. Oh, let's talk. So Antonio Anybody who watches this, okay, we're gonna do a little thing, and I'm gonna try to ask Antonio if he can be a part of it. I'm gonna ask Donna and I'm gonna ask Elliot and Sarah if she can make it on a Friday, one Friday a month, or maybe once every 4 to 6 weeks. That's what I'm gonna say. Once, at least a quarter.
Mhm.
Let's do it that way. It gives us 3 months to kind of prepare this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get together some DMs and some players, and we're gonna start a new segment of Dog Dungeon Corner, which we get together and we run through a little role playing session, so that you can actually see how role playing sessions take place live without me trying to play 4 different people, or just me and Donna trying to do it. We're gonna bring in 2 to 3 other people, and we're gonna sit down. And the first one we're gonna do is the dun 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 traditional. You're meet in a tavern. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do. You meet in a tavern, and we're gonna have that whole role playing session right there. As they come in, players come in, and they meet for the first time as they're being given their first quest as a group. All right, that's a new session that we're gonna do, and then we're gonna take that and we're gonna short from different sides. Like I may run the first session, and then Donna will run the same session. If Antonio can come in maybe and run a session or be a player, and I'll try to I'm gonna talk to Elliot and see if maybe I can get him to come in. And we're going to run that through. So you can see the same exact scenario played through differently, a la Donna, a la Antonio, a la Elliot, a la John.
Yeah.
Okay,
Different
so it'll be
RPGs.
fun. I think that'd be fun, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you game?
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm down.
So
I'll be
see,
here.
John's Dungeon Corner is elevating its whole game.
Yeah.
We have a co-host now, and she comes in once a month. She tries to. Sometimes we have painting, but now we're going to bring in live role playing. And I promise you, it'll be maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, just so that you can kind of see, because I want you to actually see it. What we're talking about in actual practice, because it's easy for us to kind of like just talk about it.
Yeah.
But now we'll add the dice rolling. We'll actually add hey, here's the descriptive narrative, right? And actually, you can break this down. Let's break it down a little bit more.
Sure.
So the narrative.
Yeah.
We'll say the narrative is the surroundings and what's going on.
Yeah.
The descriptive comes when she's describing her druid, or I'm describing my warrior,
Mhm.
or probably a rogue, but whatever, my character. I think that's more descriptive.
Yeah. The narrative is the place, the descriptive
Atmosphere.
is the people,
Okay.
and then
The role playing is what
Role-playing.
the interaction between
Yeah.
players and NPCs.
yeah,
Okay.
your monologues, your discussions, your dialogues.
Now, I think that at first we may want to sit there and say, okay, well, my character, I'm going to describe my character. So that's your hint. This is descriptive.
Yeah.
Okay, Donna, I want to talk to Donna's character. And then I start talking to her. So that kind of says, okay, I'm going to go from narrative now into role playing.
Mhm.
And I think that'll help people, because I think it's important, because we talk about role playing all the time, right?
Yeah,
Oh, here's how you role play.
right.
But-
it's really way easier to learn when you're doing it and when you're watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
And Antonio's really good at it too, but DMs, because you do it, like you said, your players, now you know your players. A new player watching what you're doing just sees one long tirade of dialogue.
Yeah,
There's no little periods and
Right.
quotation marks and all that. So I think that if we did it that way,
Mhm.
it'll help them understand, oh, okay, so she's narrating what's going on, what they see in that. Okay, now she's in the descriptive, and now she's actually the orc leader, the bandit leader is now talking to the characters.
yeah,
And I think that's an important part of it, because that really is the gist of what they were talking about. They're not being able to separate the pieces. And I didn't even think about that. There really is a third and a fourth, actually,
yeah.
because the fourth comes into the mechanics of the game. And that's really what we do way out here.
Yeah.
So we got the narrative.
Yep.
Narrative being
describing what you're doing, describing your surroundings, describing yourself.
now describable. Now here comes the descriptive, which is a little different than just describing.
Yeah.
The descriptive would be
It's more in-depth description about like what you're actually wearing, what you actually look like, what things actually look like that you
what the orcs are
have
carrying. Like when I asked her
Yeah.
what the weapons are.
Yeah.
That's very descriptive.
Yeah.
Because she said there's orcs. Okay, there's orcs. I know what kind of orcs look like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe. But what are they carrying? Now she got descriptive and told me they're carrying bows and arrows. She actually, and this is something, I want to bring this up because she just kind of threw that in there. And if
Mhm.
you don't listen to what she's saying, you're gonna miss it. She said, pretty much, I can't remember what she said, but she pretty much said they're pretty inept with them too because they're fumbling. They don't look like they're, for whatever reason, maybe their arrow cases were out of place. They're kind of holding their bows, and
These are clearly things that they shouldn't have. It's too
Exactly.
small for them to use with their big meat fingers.
Uh-huh.
You know, it would be like me having like a little toy, bow and arrow.
There you
it's
go.
not going to do damage.
Exactly. So now, see, but I caught that. I just remembered because I wanted to make sure in the
Yeah.
descriptive she slid that in there.
Right.
Now, you may, as a player, you may be paying attention to that, or you may not be.
Yeah.
So you can
can
use that
go
to your
down that
advantage.
rabbit hole and be like, why do they have those weapons?
Uh-huh.
Where did they get those weapons? Who do those actually belong to?
Exactly. So that's the descriptive. Okay. Now we're gonna go the RP, the role playing part.
Mhm.
Okay, is what?
That's your discussions, your monologues, your dialogues. So
Between
are you gonna
characters and
talk to them?
NPCs, NPCs to NPCs,
Right. Yeah.
PCs among themselves. Okay, and finally that out of game talk. And this is out of game. That's actually what it's called. OOG.
Yeah.
The OOG would be
That is the person player talking to the person DM. So not my NPCs, not your character, where you're asking me directly a question or talking to me directly, and it's not part of the game necessarily.
and it could be between players too. Now, let's take that one step further because there is one step further, okay?
Yeah.
And this is the bringing things that you already know about the game into the game that your character doesn't know,
Yeah.
right?
Right. That happens a lot. Yeah.
Okay. So there's another step out of game,
Mhm.
which really kind of can mess up a game.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes it's a minor thing, no big deal.
Yeah.
You should never get into the habit of doing it though. But it's it's called bringing out of game knowledge into the game. Something that, I, John, know.
Mhm.
Donna knows, but her druid and my fighter don't know.
Yeah.
And Donio's paladin knows.
Yeah.
But we were talking, and he just, he was excited about the game. He told us, and now we have this knowledge and we bring it into the game. That's not cool.
Yeah.
That's where you have to, and that's something that has to stay out of game.
Yeah.
Okay, it's out of game. And
Right.
it
So
has,
one character will find out something, and as the DM, I'll tell them so everybody hears it. But the rest of the characters don't actually know. It's just that one character that figured that out, and until he relays the information to the rest of the table, the rest of the characters, they don't know anything about what's going on.
okay, so there's a word for that, but I don't use it. It's just out of game talk that stays out of game.
Right.
All right. Because I don't like the insinuation of that word.
Mhm.
I've never liked it. Because people are excited about their characters and stuff that they do. And sometimes they will. We'll be standing over there after the game, before the next session, and we'll be talking, and he'll say, oh, man, you're not going to believe blah, 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 blah. And then if my character comes back in the game and goes, well, so Eric, that's a mighty nice sword that's shiny right there. Well, first of all, I haven't even rolled a perception to see if I even noticed it. But because he told me about it, now I'm going to make it. That's not something you want to do in the game. Okay, he told me that was Antonio to John and Donna,
Yeah.
not Elric to Alfred and
Carl.
Carl. Carla, maybe Carla.
Carla?
Carla.
Yeah, I can be a male character.
Carl the druid. Okay,
He's actually non-binary. Take
okay.
that.
There, he's Carl.
They, them.
It's a Carl.
It's a Carl.
All right. So anyway, but you see what I'm getting at. All right. So that's that other thing that we gotta always keep. That always stays out of game.
Mhm.
And like she said, it's hard when you have a group of 10, or I think you had 11 players last.
I think, yeah, we're up to 11.
She had 11 players. So if I find something or I'm doing something over here, she can't go, okay, let's go talk over here.
Yeah.
Which is, see, at home I'll do that.
Right.
But that's a totally different story. Sometimes you just gotta, and it may not be that big of a deal. It may just be, okay, yeah, you see that the chest is trapped, blah, 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 blah.
Right. And it's sometimes it's something that it's like, you know that that character is going to immediately do their best to relay that information to everybody.
Right.
So everybody can start reacting to that information. And then there are things where the player is going to want to keep it private, so you only tell them. You can pull them aside at that point or text them while you're at the table.
I've done that at the home table. I'll sit there and text things off, as I'm talking to somebody else, I'm texting stuff off, or
Mhm.
maybe make a note, or if it's something that may happen, you can have it already typed out and printed out to give to them. So there's handouts and stuff that go to that player, and that's the way you handle that. But that out of game talk stays out of game. Anything out of game is just that. Has nothing to do with the narrative, the descriptive, or role playing. Those three are all what we call in game. Talking to the game master and asking about rules, or can I actually do this? You know, because there's a lot of things you want to do that you need magic, or you may need somebody's assistant to do.
Yeah.
So those and stuff that maybe she told me, maybe we're just talking. We're at another game and she says, "Oh, you know, I'm gonna take my players. We're gonna next week. We're gonna blah blah blah." Well, if I'm playing their campaign, I can't go in there going, "Hi, hey guys, guess what's gonna happen?" That ruins it for everybody. So we don't want to do that. All right.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I think. What do you think?
Mhm.
Have we done it? What do you think? Have we done a pretty good game of a good job of explaining the in-game narrative, descriptive, and art or role playing, and the out of game? Are we good with that?
Mechanics and all
You
that.
guys out there, what do you think?
Yeah.
You're all experienced players to some degree. Did we explain that well enough?
Or anything you think we should touch on? To
Yes.
Add? Anything to add?
Do we need to add anything to that? Because I want to make sure when they see this later on that they go, "Oh man, that guy didn't answer my question at all." But I think we did. What do we think? We'll wait on them to give us some feedback on that. All right, so I like the idea. Okay.
Thank you, Rena.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's my wife.
That's his wife.
That's my wife.
My wife.
See, this is interactive. I tell everybody, I always tell everybody, I like to say this from time to time, is that all my family and friends, I think you're good. Antonio says I think you're good.
Awesome.
Okay.
I trust his opinion.
All right, yeah. And you know, and they'll Sarah, we're waiting on you. Oh,
Awesome.
there goes Sarah. I think it was good. Okay, good.
Thank
So that's
you.
3 years. I think we did a pretty good job with
Yeah,
that, right?
we're thorough,
Do you think
yeah.
we missed anything?
No, I think that's really good on RPG specifically, or just table playing. Anything that happens as you are playing.
All right.
Any
So
type of discussions.
one more time for you DMs. I just want you to be aware of it. It's your game. I just want you to be aware when you got new players.
Mhm.
It might be nice to say, okay, let me explain to you what you see.
Yeah.
And then tell them, you know, okay, so you see this guy coming up to you, and then say, now he says to your character, the bartender is going to talk to your character, and he's going to say, and you go into your character.
Right.
Or you just stay in the narrative, but let them kind of, seeing people role play will help me as a newish player.
Yeah,
That's true. I
I
mean,
think so.
I think that's next session is going to be good, right? You guys, everybody's good with that? That new element that I'm going to add to John's Dungeon Corner? Because I expect you guys to help me out with this from time to time. If I can grab you here on a Friday, we can all kind of get together and do that. That'll be cool.
Yeah, and we need to get Rena on some Dimension 20 and some Critical Role, and let her watch some more.
Well, she's
stuff.
been watching. Oh, Critical. I'm glad you said. Listen, if you need
Yeah.
some ideas, and I mean, you see this here, and you'll see our little sessions, but those are going to be like, what do you call that? Like encounter driven.
Right. it's gonna be
encounter-driven
a
and-
single part of
Right.
a much bigger campaign.
Critical Role, Matt Mercer, and all those great, and they're all great voice actors, and they have a great, you know, they have their television series, they got their book and everything out. Watch them because they do voices. I think the voices might be something I'll try to introduce. It's just, if you're not a voice actor, you can learn to do it. And sometimes you do. Sometimes with some of your characters, you got that little twang, or it doesn't have to be anything great and fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just to differentiate when Donna's talking
Mhm.
as Carl and when she's talking as Donna.
Right. And like you can just make it simple. Women have higher voices, men have lower voices. And you know, you might have like nerdy, you might go into a library and everyone sounds kind of nerdy and nasally and they're stuck up. And like you don't have to make it incredible. It can just be very general and
Right. Exactly. So I think that's something I'm going to try. I think that's something I'm going to try to add to the game to elevate it just a little bit. I don't know how well it'll be, but hey, I'm going to try it and see what happens. I'll listen to Matt Mercer because he actually does. The cool thing about him is he does the faces.
Yeah.
Have you seen him do like the
Yeah.
one where he does the witch? He's like, oh, it's over. Yeah, he's like, oh, yes, my pretty, I'm going to get you, kind of thing. It's so cool. So I thought that was really neat. That's what got me going. I'm like, yeah, I could do something
I had
crazy
to
like that.
pretend to be plants in my last session, and I was just like, I'm plants. Me being plants. I'm just wiggling and
Well, you got the green
psychically
hair for it,
walking.
so
Yeah, it's perfect. My swamp witch hair.
I don't have any hair. I can't do plants.
Oh no, we'll get you a wig.
I'm done with you. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
That's it. That's it. Anyway, so from John's Dungeon Corner with my co-host Donna,
Thank you.
we'd love to wish you a great day. And as always, may the world rise up to meet your feet and may all your adventures be successful.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all later. Thank you for watching. That is just too much fun. Bye.